I'm Stephanie Swearingen, and this is my 5-year-old son Logan, who is a superhero, right? He was born in 2010, and they found my carrier status for cystic fibrosis when I was pregnant, and then tested my husband, who came back negative, and they told us not to worry about it. And then he was born and failed his newborn screen and failed his 2-week screen, and they confirmed it with a sweat test. And turns out that they only tested for the 30 most common mutations for my husband, and the second mutation that Logan carries is a little bit rarer. So he is DF508 from me and Q493X from his dad. He didn't, a lot of CFers are born with meconium ileus. He did not have that problem. Then last year he started telling me, you know, here's my barely 4-year-old, and he was saying, I have spine pain, and we were blaming it on CF. We were assuming that he had some kind of blockage. We were sitting in there 3rd week in a row, and he just starts squirting blood from his nose. And at that point, the GI doctor said, we're gonna do a CT scan, and they did. And they found a softball-sized tumor in his abdomen, which was, I think it was here. And then it had tendrils that kind of rotated into his pancreas and his liver and his bowels. And then they did an MIBG scan, which is a way to find specifically neuroblastoma cells. And it was all over in his bones, in his spine, and in his hips. So he was right on the money when he said that he had spine pain and hip pain, because it was all over in his bone marrow. So at that point he was diagnosed with stage 4 neuroblastoma, which is a childhood cancer. And we started chemo the following week. Over the last year he has done 7 2-week courses of chemo, a stem cell transplant, which is similar to a bone marrow transplant, but it was his own stem cells. 12 rounds of radiation. He's had 2 major surgeries to have tumor pieces or tumor removed. Yes? What? You're gonna stay here? Oh, you're gonna show them the scars? So a normal day for us, we wake up around 7 or 8, and he has 2 to 3 oral medications that I put through his J-tube at 7, and then 2 to 3 oral medications that go through his J-tube at 8, and that is an antacid, an antibiotic, antiemetics, pain meds, supplements, vitamins, stuff like that. And then after those medications, he gets hooked up to his feeding pump, which runs all the time through his J-tube. He's taking a little break at the moment, but only because he had to be fasted this morning for labs. And then after meds and the pump are hooked up, he gets hooked up to his vest treatment, which is for his CF, cystic fibrosis, and that runs for half an hour, and it's a pneumatic vest that's it's just like a piece of clothing that he puts on, and we hook a tube up to it, and it pumps air like that, and breaks up the mucus in his chest so that he can cough it out a little bit easier. So he does that for 30 minutes, and while he's doing his vest, he inhales hypertonic saline and pulmozyme, which are mucus thinning medications. If he also has a lung infection, then sometimes he has to inhale antibiotics as well. But right now he's just getting him through the J-tube. And then after treatment is done, he is unhooked from the vest, but he still has to be hooked up to his feeding pump. So he carries around a little backpack all day, every day, with a pump in it that feeds him slowly through his jejunostomy tube. And after treatment, he gets a couple more medications through his tubes. Sometimes we have to do IV medications, in which case we access that. And the Broviac is it's an IV, essentially. So it inserts in his chest and then wraps around, and there's a little scar here where you can see that's where they put it under the skin, and then it empties right before it gets to his heart. So we can run IV antibiotics at home without having to have a PICC line, but the care for it is similar. So every day we flush this with saline and heparin, which is a blood thinner, to make sure that it doesn't clot in the tubing. And we need to make sure that it gives us a blood return, that it hasn't gone bad. If he runs fevers, that's the first thing they check, is for a central line infection. So he gets a couple more meds around 9 a.m., 10 a.m. through his J-tube and through his Broviac if we need to. And then he's got a couple hours of freedom, although it's not really freedom because he's still hooked up to the pump. So he's still carrying around 10 pounds in a backpack everywhere he goes. Most of his meds are twice a day. So around 3 p.m. he gets a couple more medications, and then around 6 p.m. we restart our morning routine. So he gets the oral medications, the half an hour of the vest treatment, the inhaled medications, oral medications. And the reason we have to split them up is because a lot of the medications are not compatible with each other. So like I can't put an antibiotic and an antacid in his stomach at the same time because they'll counteract each other. So he has them at 7, 8, 9, and then it's the same thing for nighttime routines. 6, 7, and 8, they go to bed. The kids go to bed around 9, and then I have to stay up till about 11, 11:30 because he gets another dose of medications at 11, and the pump is constantly running overnight as well. So I have to continue to put food in the pump, and then we usually get to sleep from about 11 to 3 a.m., at which point he gets up to use the restroom, and I have to re-put food in the pump, administer some more medications, and then we start all over at 7. I think what you are doing is beyond incredible. First off, just the selflessness involved in your entire foundation, what people are giving, and you know, I think that the best gift we can give people is our time and our love and our energy, and you never stop. More than just me, I started following your story from your run, and because I'm friends with Laura Clem on Facebook, and she and her story with Ethan helped me through my first year with Logan as a cystic fibrosis parent. And so she started posting about you when you started your run, and that's how I learned about More Than Just Me. And I'm just extremely touched. You know, both diseases there's very little funding for both. Most of the cancer funding goes to adults, and then most of that adult cancer funding goes to breast cancer. So there's very little funding for finding new medications and new treatments for pediatric cancer and for cystic fibrosis, and CF doesn't get any federal funding whatsoever. So, you know, I can speak for myself. When Logan was diagnosed, I had no idea what cystic fibrosis was. So I think it's a very unknown disease, and because it's faceless and you can't look at somebody and say, oh, they have CF, and because of that there's very little funding and there's very little support. And I think that your foundation is turning that around. More Than Just Me has created keep your head still, please. Has created quite the following. It's been impressive to watch that journey over the last couple of years and to see how you've grown from one person just feeling motivated to a community. It is extremely honoring and motivating for me to be a better parent and to be better about caring for others, especially strangers. And you don't know us, and we don't know you, and
I know him.
you do know him.
What do you mean?
I know you.
But just the thought that there is still kindness in strangers and love in the community is something special and something that's not seen very much. Right?
You ready? You ready to be interviewed?
Ready.
Do you want to sit on my lap, or do you want me to give you the seat and you can sit by yourself?
I'm okay by myself. I would
Okay,
like to be
all right,
on.
I'll step out then.
Woo! All right, get in your throne.
Nice
Adjust
joke.
the mic down a little bit too.
You're a joker.
I
Alright.
am a joker.
If it's big and green and angry all the time, you're thinking of Hulk. Trust me, he's the boss. Yeah, it hurts me, but it doesn't hurt the Hulk. Yeah, I've been through a lot of battles, huh?
Yeah.
Barely got chopped in half. Barely.
I call those shark bites.
What do we say?
I got chopped in half by a samurai sword.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But you survive.
Ninja powers healed me. Suctioned me back together like a magnet.
We just hope and pray that he doesn't relapse, because there's about a 50 to 60% chance of relapse for stage 4 neuroblastoma.
I've also had CF longer than I've had tumor. Way, way longer.
Yep. Why is that? Because CF is genetic, right? And the cancer was just bad luck.
Mm-hmm.